Hello folks, West Truther Channel. This is going to be part 5, I think, of NASA's Project Bluebeam. So your answers to any and solutions to anything that will help the Goyim is there for the asking, and then just read the lips of those like the inbred George Bush or the Templar Trump, who likes the camera and the microphones. Just remember, he's an actor, folks. He's a Templar, and he's part of the pharaonic aristocracy, folks, just like Bush. Every president we ever had has blood kin to him except Martin Van Buren. Y'all need to remember that. King George, who Robin Hood was against all the time and all this kind of stuff. Y'all need to, if you don't know your history, they're not going to give it to you. You're going to have to find it for yourself. In the 1970s, just like what I'm fixing to tell you, in the 1970s, a psychologist named James V. McConnell made a statement about NASA's Project Bluebeam that was published in Psychology Today in the 1970s. He said, "The day has come when we can combine sensory deprivation with drug hypnosis and astute manipulation of reward and punishment to gain absolute control over an individual's behavior. And then it will be possible to add a very rapid and highly effective type of positive brainwashing that would allow us to make dramatic changes in a person's behavior and in their personality. The frequencies can change you physically and mentally and use chemicals and elements through water and air and bodily intakes to communicate with your existence, to alter or to control you, and to speak solely or verbally with or at you. You'll hear them. I've heard them. The New World Order is not just going to allow individual personalities among their Goyim. Then, as a whole, everyone of society must think and act the same if you want to live. The United Nations basic teachings is that no one owns his or her personality. So I want you to know about these things right here, folks. This ran a little bit over further than I wanted to, but there's nothing I can do about it. Just bear with me, please. I've already told you, thanks to the Supreme Court, we're documented around 10 million babies that's been aborted. And but anyway, with NASA's Project Bluebeam, it should be noted as very important, deadly important, in the declaration of Project Bluebeam is that the New World Order will be set up over all current systems, meaning the old way, and that's what they're going to call it, the old way of thinking and behavior and religion will be considered the old and incorrect way of thinking, and that they can change it at one of the eradication FEMA prisons that they call camps of the United Nations, to make sure that anyone with antisocial behaviors, according to their rules and regulations, who don't accept the one mind of those that completely comply to the New World Order will be disposed of quickly. And I have told y'all, either by bullets or by guillotine or live incineration or sport with beast. So the other modified individuals will be scared into submission, and they will obey and fulfill the needs and the agendas of the New World Order without any distracting regard for or by the real truths of life and history. This project will be the ultimate mind control project ever, as 5G will assist. And then they're going to 6 and then 60, and who knows where they're going to stop. The NASA Project Bluebeam is the prime directive for the New World Order's absolute control over the populations of the entire Earth. Y'all need to please let some of this soak in, folks. It is suggested that you consider the information, if you are able to, that is, carefully before you mentally dismiss NASA's Project Bluebeam as just fanatic lunacy. You need to think about the videos that I'm making, because I'm going to give y'all a lot of information. The project includes transmitters that will broadcast at the same frequency as the human nervous system. These transmitters are manufactured by the Loral Electro-Optical System in Pasadena, California. Loral is a major defense contractor and has extensively researched direct energy weapons for Lieutenant General Leonard Perez of the United States Air Force, who wanted a weapon that could implant messages into the minds of their fabricated enemies. When you start 180 wars, you're starting a lot of wars with a lot of innocent people, folks. While urging his own troops into superhuman deeds of terrorism and war, and it would be considered by the U.S. and the UN as deeds of valor. So they dupe one bunch of people, they boost up another group of people, and then when the super soldiers kill the easy prey, they're all heroes. And everybody in the churches prays for the safe return of their heroes. Hail the cheating heroes. These devices employ electromagnetic radiation of gigahertz frequencies pulsed at extremely low frequencies, ELF, extremely low frequencies. These types of military-developed weapons are used on civilians, targeted individual, environmentalists, any victims of government and law enforcement, same thing as United Nations government. The United Nations government took over the United States military around 1999, and all police departments are under the directive of the United Nations. And if you don't believe it, that's on you. And they use it to torture and to both people physically and mentally from a distance. And I mean a distance. They can do this. These frequency weapons are used to induce total sensory deprivation by broadcasting signals into the auditory nerves of any mammal at such high power that it blocks the ability of the subject to hear and understand themselves think. This secret process employed by such ELF technology are described in various United States Defense Department publications, including one titled The Electromagnetic Spectrum of Low Intensity Conflict. And that is done by a Captain Paul E. Tyler, Medical Commandant, U.S. Navy. This publication is included in a collection entitled Low Intensity Conflict and Modern Technology Edict, EDICT, by a Lieutenant Colonel David G. Dean, United States Air Force. And the paper was delivered in 1984, and this collection was published in 1986 by Air University Press, Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. There are other microwave and frequency weapons used on populations of Earth's life forms. Humans are but one species that are victims of biochemical and elemental frequencies, and the heart constantly delivers death down from the skies above us. Military planes and drones, balloons and blimps and orbs, and they are all death dealers to all the life that is below them. But these who are chosen to be protected, such as government employees, their deceiving scientists, their deceiving YouTube channelers. They seem to convince people of lies the same as the public broadcasting media, or they wouldn't be broadcasting without government control of content. And all websites, I believe, answer to somebody. They all follow a profile that's laid out for them. I don't believe there's a single one. There's websites that says, oh, you want freedom of speech? Oh, you're upset about something and you want to talk about it? Well, come to our website. You go to their website, you better be real calm and cool and careful about how you talk, how you look, and how you act, or you won't be there long either. Because emotion and passion just isn't allowed. The military, corporate bankers, the law enforcement, the teachers of lies, etc., etc. They're all protected. The sheeple or goyim are selected targets. These pulse microwave devices can deliver audible signals to any individual while they remain undetectable to anyone else close by, even those standing next to you or household members or the person who sleeps next to you. You'll hear them, they'll affect you, and the person beside you is oblivious to what you're going through. I've seen my dogs, I've seen my cats stay inside their houses, run to their houses to get inside. I could hear the tone change and then there go by animals. I've seen my cats jump and make sounds and jump off the bed and run into another room and get underneath of a piece of furniture. Now, why would they do that? Anywhere they can find some relief, they will go and look for it. The TI, and they'll run from the room where the targeted individual is located and often will sound off due to their senses of frequency attack. And can you say to the brain, because that's where they're attacking. And you need to make a note of this now, what I'm fixing to tell you. There's a book titled The Body Electric by Robert Baker, and it describes a series of experiments conducted in the early 60s by a person, one Alan Fry, F-R-I-E. He conducted these experiments in the early 60s, where one such phenomena was successfully demonstrated, as well as many other experiments were conducted in the 70s and since then at the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research by a Dr. Joseph C. Sharp, who personally underwent tests in which he proved that he could hear and understand mental messages delivered to him in an echo-free isolation chamber from a pulsed microwave audiogram, which is an analog of words, sound vibrations, and they're beamed right directly into his brain. And nowhere can you hide unless you have a lead or aluminum or lead and aluminum shield, and it's installed in a special constructed habitat. That's your only chance of avoiding these frequencies, folks. The government mandated that all lead in part be removed, all lead in paint, that all lead in paint be removed so that the frequencies would not be imputed from entering into your living and working spaces. Not because of lead poisoning to children. You know how much leaded paint, old paint a child would have to pull off the walls and eat to make them sick? The lead paint, I've got a sister who's a government contractor, and she forces people into bankruptcy, condemns houses and everything, puts people into hardships because they've got lead in the paint. She goes in, tests the paint. Let me do you a favor. Next thing you know, it cost them an arm and a leg. And then she don't believe that the government is taking the lead out of the houses so they can get their electromagnetic frequencies through the roof and through the walls. She won't even believe it. But it's most obvious, as the book states, that these military weapons are used for covert operations, and they do drive most living targets crazy with unknown voices and commands to selected assassins or mentally seduced acts of terrorism that they can get people to do with frequencies.